You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Families. No other information has been released about the charges. Click TuscaloosaTrend.com for more local news. It's free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Thursday, May 30, 2024. Just today and tomorrow. It's left in the month of May, and then we're into June. And we get to June, of course, we're thinking vacation and all of that good stuff, but we're also starting to think football. It's weird. June kind of is that month where it's almost like we're still just not even really in the summer till June 20th, but people start thinking, well, you know what? Magazines are out. July is SEC football media days. Before you know it, high schools are practicing, and it's here before you know it. But it's amazing just how quickly this month has gone by. It just seems like yesterday UA was holding graduation, and that was 4 weeks ago. And but anyway, we're glad to have you with us. It's not a beautiful morning the way it has been most of the mornings lately. It's overcast. I actually, hit a little, I guess you call it like a spit shower, driving in from my house to the radio station this morning. It just kind of spit on my windshield a little bit, but the forecast is not for, it's for some drizzle for the next little bit, and then by 10 a.m. cloudy, by 11 a.m. partly cloudy, and by 4 p.m., it looks like they're calling for sunshine. So a little overcast, maybe a little bit of drizzle this morning, but nothing substantial. Now Saturday and Sunday, there is a better chance of showers. Saturday, about 70% chance of rain, and I'm just looking at my phone here. Sunday, 50% chance of rain, but you know how that is around here. It might rain, it might not rain, but Going to be a nice day. It's cool outside. It's not or not muggy, I guess I should say. It felt pretty good this morning. So glad to have you with us. We got a good show on tap. We're going to run it down here in just a second and hit on some headlines. But first, I need to tell you this hour of the Gary Harris Show being brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, member owned and not for profit. It's just a better way of banking. Convenience and savings make life better. The ACU Lifestyle Account. Learn more at alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com. Or get by and see them at one of their many locations around the state of Alabama. Alabama Credit Union loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money and put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, we're jam-packed today. We have got a good show on tap. We have got George Husak, Alabama men's tennis coach, coming up at 9:30, I should say. Coach Husak, of course, coaching Filip Poniczek, who just won the NCAA men's singles tennis national championship out in Stillwater, Oklahoma over the weekend. Coach Husak has built a heck of a program here. Now he has an NCAA singles champion. We'll talk about that, what Filip accomplished, and what it might mean for the program moving forward. Then at 10 o'clock, we're going to talk Bama basketball with Jordan Harper, head basketball analyst for Tide Illustrated, part of the Rivals.com network. Of course, Alabama's roster is now set, and on paper, it is one of the top rosters in the country and one of the top rosters in the history of Alabama men's basketball. I say on paper because these 13 guys have yet to practice together, certainly have yet to play a game together, but it looks really, really good. The roster is now set. We'll have more on that in a moment. Then at 10:30, Jeff Spiegel, longtime sports anchor at ABC 3340, host of The Zone. He joins us for his regular Thursday night appearance. Also, Patrick Murphy, Kayla Beaver, and Jocelyn Brisky had their NCAA Women's College World Series press conference on Wednesday afternoon. We've got that for you as well, and we'll try to work it in. We were going to try to work in some Patrick Murphy from the airport on Tuesday on yesterday's show and didn't get to it, so now we got the airport sound, and we got the press conference from yesterday as well. Your phone calls are welcome on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. The phone number is always 205-342-9904. That's 205-342-9904. If you want to give us a call, we would love to hear from you. It's 9:06, and Justin Jones, of course, is right there on the other side of the glass, manning the controls, taking your phone calls and doing all the heavy lifting. And Justin, let's go ahead and hit him up with some Thursday morning headlines and bring him up to speed on what's going on. Huge news on Wednesday for Alabama men's basketball. Mark Sears will withdraw from the NBA draft, or did withdraw from the NBA draft. I don't have to say will anymore because he did. And he's returning to school for his final season of eligibility. Sears made the announcement on social media. He was one of the best players in college basketball last season, earning second-team All-American and first-team All-SEC honors. He led Alabama to the Final Four with several big games in the NCAA tournament. The Muscle Shows product averaged over 21 points, shooting 44% from three, 4.2 rebounds, and 4 assists. He was a well-rounded player. He spearheaded one of the country's most potent offenses, and Sears' return to Alabama establishes the Crimson Tide as one of the early favorites to win the national championship. And that wasn't it. It wasn't over. Doesn't stop there. However you want to put it. 6'10" forward Jaren Stevenson decided to withdraw his name from the NBA draft, and he'll return to the University of Alabama as well. Now, Stevenson was crucial in Alabama's Final Four run last season. He had 19 points in that Elite Eight game against Clemson when he really came up big. Tons of talent. He should have just graduated high school this month, but instead he reclassified last year. He'll be a sophomore, but in terms of his class, he really should just be a freshman. So the best is in store for Jaren Stevenson. Now, 1 through 13, I can't imagine a roster that's more talented than this one. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't some as talented. And listen, UConn, to me, they're going for the three-peat. They got a lot of people back. I think it starts with UConn still. I know a lot of people are talking about Kansas and Alabama as well. I don't have any problem with people saying those are the top 3 teams right now. But UConn has done it, and they've got enough back that to me it still starts with UConn. But Alabama's in the conversation for best team in the country going into the season. They'll be a top 3 preseason team, and as I said, they'll be one of the favorites not only to make it to the Final Four, but compete for the national championship. Well, beginning on Friday, Alabama baseball will take part in the NCAA Tallahassee Regional at Dick Howser Stadium. The Tide will be joined by Central Florida, Stetson, and the host Florida State. Alabama is the number 2 seed. They will play the number 3 seed UCF on Friday at 5 p.m. Central Time. You can hear that game here on Tide 100.9 FM. The number 8 nationally seeded Florida State Seminoles and the number 4 seed Stetson Hatters meet at 11 a.m. on Friday. Of course, Florida State is the number 1 seed in the regional, in the regional, and Alabama will be making its 27th all-time appearance in the NCAA tournament. It's playing in back-to-back regionals for the first time since 2013 and 2014, so looking forward to that. And the College World Series in Oklahoma City begins today. In fact, it begins at 11 a.m. with Alabama taking on UCLA. You can hear that game on 97.5 FM.
Yeah, Gary, and when you were just talking about the weather here in Tuscaloosa a minute ago, I just, out of curiosity, pulled up the radar over there in Oklahoma. They have some rain coming their way, too.
Well, I hope they don't get much.
Hopefully they'll miss it.
I mean, they have more weather issues, it seems like, out there every year when they have that tournament. But you play, you think if you're Alabama, you're playing the 11 a.m. game. You're the only game that you know for sure is going to start on time, unless there's a weather situation. So we'll keep you posted on that. But Alabama, I don't have to tell you, it's a double elimination tournament, how this works. You're not eliminated if you lose the first game, but you're in a tough spot. You really, really are. It's almost critical. It seems like if you're going to make a deep run to win that first game. So Alabama will try to do that at 11 a.m. on ESPN, also on 97.5 FM here on the Town Square family of stations. Also, some breaking news for Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network and Adam Schefter as well. They hadn't got a deal done yet for Tua, but the Dolphins have gotten a new contract done for Jalen Waddle, one of his top targets. 3 years, $84.75 million, $76 million of that guaranteed. I mean, the Dolphins, listen, they're all in on offense. Let's make no mistake. They are all in. They've got the quarterback in Tua. They've got the receiving core. They got Cheetah and Waddle. They've got 2 running backs. Pretty good offensive line. The defense is going to be the question. Last year they looked pretty good on paper, but now they've lost Raekwon Davis to the Colts, and they lost Christian Wilkin to the Raiders through free agency. But the Dolphins offensively are all in. I can't imagine a better basketball roster than Alabama. I don't know if I can imagine a better offense on paper in the NFL than the Miami Dolphins. But big news for Waddle. I'm interested to see if they get this contract done with Tua or not. I mean, a lot of people have just assumed that they will, but they spent a lot of money on other guys. But whether they do or not, Tua's back this year. That's not an issue. The issue is, long term for Tua. But Waddle has got his money, and that receiving core, those running backs, that quarterback, they ought to be a potent offensive team. Of course, they were last year, and we saw what happened again when they got in the playoffs. Of course, because they didn't finish the season strong, they lost home field and had to go to Kansas City and play in, -0 temperatures out there, which doesn't help a warm weather team and an offensive minded team. That's why it's another reason it's important in the playoffs to get home field if you can. So those are some headlines. It's 9:12 here on the Gary Harris Show. We're off and running. Tom, hold for us because it'll be a lot easier to take your call in the next segment. We'll have more time for you. We won't have to rush you. So we're going to go ahead and hit the break. And when we come back, we've got Tom ready to chime in on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. So we'll start taking phone calls in the next segment. Can't wait to visit with George Husak, the Alabama men's tennis coach, at 9:30. This is the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. We'll be right back after this. Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour.
And conduct virtual interviews, all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Some rules and restrictions apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions in both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside.
Meal options fast. Clean Eats is now open downtown with a full-service lunch and dinner cafe, coffee and smoothie bar, healthy meal prep, and grab and goes. Clean Eats on University across from the Federal Courthouse. CleanEATZ.com.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special, Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Chance of a few isolated showers today, otherwise partially sunny, the high 82. For tonight, mostly fair with the low at 62. Tomorrow, a good supply of sunshine, the high 86. Then scattered showers and thunderstorms on Saturday, the high 85. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 70 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
9:16. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. And we're going to jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and start off our phone calls with Tom. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Doing well.
Thanks for taking my call. I heard your conversation with Matt Coulter on NASCAR. I wanted to talk about a subject that y'all talked about that I went and looked up and did some reading on. And I found it to be interesting, and I thought maybe everybody that NASCAR fans would find it interesting as well.
You talking about my interview yesterday with Matt?
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good interview. I loved.
But the thing about it was, part of the conversation was on Stuart Hall.
Yeah.
And I went and looked up some information about their situation, and I found it to be very interesting. And I thought maybe you and others would that are NASCAR fans.
Okay, what is it?
Stuart Haas, as you know and as you reported, are dissolving the race team at the end of 2024. And the reason is they lost two of their biggest sponsors, Busch Light and one other one, refused to go because they have thrown their support behind other drivers. And when Stuart Hall lost those two sponsors, they could not replace them. And so this is where it gets really interesting. They chose to dissolve. Mr. Haas said, he's done with NASCAR. He's moving on to something else. Of course, he's got plenty of money. He can absorb a loss and not have any stress about it. But the thing that's interesting to me is how that they are going to dissolve. And, of course, they're committed to helping their employees find work.
Right.
And all that kind of stuff, and I admire them for that. And but the franchise, the charter, have you ever read how that works?
Yeah, I've gone over. I didn't read it in depth, but I know that it's they have the charters already set up, right? Based on when there's an opening for a team.
Mr. Haas purchased a charter
right
when he came into racing, and basically what it does is you're an owner of part of NASCAR to a certain degree, and it's basically a franchise, like you would buy a McDonald's franchise, but you're under the umbrella of McDonald's, and it works like that. And Menard sold their franchise 2 years ago for $40 million, and word is that the Stuart Haas franchise is not going to bring nowhere near that.
Really?
It's not going. And people are looking at it, and I think is it Front Row Racing is another one of the teams that's on the up and come.
Mm-hmm.
They're adding a car, but they wouldn't take the bait on buying a franchise from Stuart Haas. I found that to be gossipy and interesting, and so they didn't want that franchise, not at that price. I think they think that Mr. Haas is going to probably say, you know what, I just want to get rid of it. You know where I'm going with that one. And so anyway, I found those items to be of interest to me because I do like racing, and I do like the business end of it. It's always been fascinating how they set it up. On racing, but they're in some trouble, and people are saying that franchise or that charter is not going to bring what they needed to bring.
Well, but they're going to. I guess you don't have a lot of leverage because if people already know you're not coming back.
Well, losing those sponsors, see, that's where your leverage is.
Right. Yeah.
If you say, okay, we're selling our charter, and these are the sponsors that you got in-house, then that thing's worth something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
And when you hadn't got that, then you're at the mercy of the marketplace. And I don't care what anybody says, these owners are ruthless. They're going to drive down that price as much as they can.
Understood. What you're saying is if you don't have the sponsors going with you for the new team, then it lowers the price of the charter.
Yeah. The value. It's the value of the charter.
Yeah.
And then when it's not valuable, then the price is affected. And,
I hate to see them leave, as I said.
I do too.
Everybody's got to do what they got to do, but I'm sure it's disappointing for NASCAR too. You just hope that you have some strong ownership come in, and because Stuart Haas, it's I wouldn't put it there with Hendrick and Penske and Gibbs, but it's that next tier. Richard Childress, Stuart Haas, they still kind of roll off the tongue. Roush, Fenway, Keselowski Racing. I'd put the three top teams as Hendrick, Penske and Gibbs, and then I'd have that next tier of Childress, Ralph Fenway, Keselowski, and Stuart Haas. So,
I agree.
They're right there.
I kind of thought what they were going to do. When Tony was the driver owner, they won the championship, and then Kevin come in there, and after about 2 or 3 years of driving for him, he puts in a couple of 3 championships.
That's right. That's true.
And then Kevin leaves, and then all hell breaks loose with the sponsors and everything. And, y'all were questioning yesterday, did you think that had something to do with it? Now, after I have seen Kevin on TV and his abilities and his ability to sell, him pulling out may have been the final straw with those sponsors, because you got to admit, he is dang good publicly.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. He's a marquee guy, and you're right. At the end of the day, it comes down to sponsorship. I mean, that's what drives the sport. It's what allows these race teams to operate, even though the owners are wealthy. They don't want to do it all with their own money, and if you don't have the sponsorship, like you said, then you're hurting. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting scenario. What happens with that charter going forward, and what it looks like next year, Tom. It really is. But I hate to lose Stuart Haas, but it is what it is.
Thank you, Gary. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Let's keep it rolling, and we're going to go from Tom to Digger down in Louisiana. Hey, Digger, good morning.
Morning. How you doing?
Doing well.
Big favor.
Sure.
I need you're going to get Cusack on, and I know this won't particularly interest anybody in the state of Alabama about this tennis, but I need to know what his opinion is about bringing in this talent overseas from Europe, taking up a roster spot, and wondering if there's any kind of NIL deal involved. Because we're doing it in Texas, too, and there's a lot of grumbling about it in high school about a lot of tennis players in Texas, and they all want to go play there or go to A&M. But the roster spots are being taken up by these Euros.
Better players.
That are well, they are, but they're state sponsored too.
Right.
That's all they do is they start at 14 and the government's paying for them, and then they send them back over here. I mean, if you're going to do that, they need to stay here for 5 years and earn a W-2 and get our money back.
Right.
I mean, I'm really it chaps me to this point, because this is why we don't have any American tennis players that are in the world rankings right now. Some in the women, none in the men.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's as you said, tennis is an internationally recruited sport, and the players at the junior level are just much stronger internationally. It's just the way it is. And when these college teams are looking to fill out rosters, especially, you got to remember too, at least you're right, Texas has got a much stronger junior tennis program than a state like Alabama, let's say, even though still Texas is going to recruit internationally. But Alabama, to find enough junior players in this state that are at the level to play Division I men's and women's tennis, there's not that many of them that are even rated high enough.
You can go to Georgia for that. I mean,
well, they recruit in other states as well, but I'm just saying it's one of those sports where most of these top college rosters, and you're saying this so you know it, are going to be filled with international players. That's just the way it is.
It goats me, man. It goats me. And even the Russians are doing this in Florida. They don't just bypass college. They'll get all their training in Florida, and they get on the tour and make millions. But guess where the money's going? It goes back home.
Mm-hmm.
They got to keep their money here if they're going to be doing that. I mean, come on. They're draining the bank account, and especially for these the teenagers here, high school talent, they're not getting a fair shake at all this opportunity to go to a college and get their schooling paid for or tuition paid for.
I got you. You're not wrong. I will say that you're not wrong.
And to be fair, it all started with these Australian kickers coming in to play college football. Granted, they do stay because they go to the NFL. They're that good. Okay, and they're earning their check in the United States. They don't send it back to Australia. But, you see my point here?
I do.
They're draining the bank, and we're getting nothing out of it, and we're not even learning anything as far as competition-wise because they don't get the opportunity. So I'd love for you to ask the coach that because he's going to have a very lengthy answer, I guarantee you. And so, yeah, I want to hear what he has to say.
All right, Digger. Appreciate it. We'll get to Coach in the next segment, as a matter of fact. It's 9:27 here on the Gary Harris Show. A couple of other notes that I did not mention in headlines. The Braves lose last night to the Nationals. They brought up that, Justin, that young pitcher from AA. Look him up real quick. He didn't actually pitch too badly. I think he went 5 innings. He gave him a 3-run homer, which really, really cost him. But here, I'm going to try to find him real quick because he just came up. I think he'd been over in Jackson.
Braves starting pitcher?
Yeah.
Is it Smith-Shawver?
Yeah.
A.J. Smith-Shawver.
Yeah. He got his first start last night for the Braves. And as I said, he took the loss as the Nationals won it 7-2 over at Truist Park. But he, let's see, he went, no, it's not him. It's a different guy. Yeah. It's Schellenbach is his name. The other guy had pitched some. Spencer Schellenbach came up and got the start. He went 5 innings and gave up 5 runs. Or I'm sorry, gave up 3 runs. And all those runs came on a 3-run home run. So he gave up 5 and then did get 5 innings, so gave up 3 runs. Let me get this straight. He went 5 innings, gave up 3 runs. All right, so he didn't pitch too badly, but the Braves bullpen Bummer came in, and it was a bummer for Bummer. He went 1 inning and gave up 2 more runs, so the Braves got that one get away from them. But this is a pitcher that they feel excited about. And also want to mention that the Auburn men's golf team won the NCAA National Championship. So they were one of the favorites going in. Obviously, Alabama, as we've talked about a lot, if Nick Dunlap had still been on this roster, they would have been one of the favorites. But they lost Dunlap to the PGA Tour.
831. That's 800-294-8831. What do you have to lose? Call 800-294-8831. Again, 800-294-8831.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions in both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
365, 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow truck, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the roadside. And if you can't safely move over, please slow down.
Visit DriveSafeAlabama.org. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Follow the Crimson Tide on their journey to another national championship. Touchdown, Alabama! On your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:32, 28 minutes before the hour, 10 o'clock. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. And we're going to jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and visit with the men's tennis coach at the University of Alabama, George Husak. And we got something to celebrate with Alabama men's tennis, an NCAA singles national champion, Filip Polishek from Slovenia, wins it all in Stillwater, Oklahoma over the weekend. Coach is with us. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. I was looking over your bio this morning. I guess it just an example of how time flies. 12 years now you've been in Tuscaloosa. Does it seem just like yesterday?
It really does, actually, especially now having teenagers and wishing we still had little ones that depended on us. Now our teenagers don't need us.
you came here with the idea of building a nationally prominent program, and you have done that. But this is kind of the cherry on top right now, to have an NCAA men's singles tennis champion. Filip Poniczek ran through a incredible list of top-rated players, just kept knocking them off, got to the quarters, got to the semis, got to the finals, and then won it all. First, just the impact for him, obviously, as an individual player, but for your program, too, to have that accomplishment. What does it mean for him, and what does it mean for the program?
Well, starting with, I guess, the program, we're still building, so I don't think we're ever going to reach the top. If we do, then I guess we won't need to come to work anymore. But it is a big statement for the program. For Filip personally, he's been our number one guy really since the day that he arrived. And I tell a story where we played an inter-squad match in July of 2021 during his freshman year, along with 5 other freshmen, because we brought in 6 new guys. And he won this inter-squad match, and he literally said to us, "I am the king." And while it was kind of said in jest that day, he's been at the top of our lineup ever since, in both singles and doubles. He's only played really, I think it was 3 matches last year where he played number 2. And for him, it just shows what I would say that it wasn't expected, but it certainly wasn't surprising, because he has the ability. And to put it all together last week, I think there were a lot of things that came together nicely for him, but he certainly showed that he's always showed that he's had the level. It was just a matter of putting it together.
Well, he put it together, and now he's an NCAA men's singles tennis champion for the rest of his life, and can't take that away from him. For the program, as you said, it's a team sport played by individuals, and there are individual accomplishments. But for you to have an NCAA champion, and that's got to increase, not that the recruiting profile is not very good right now, but that's got to open up a lot of doors in recruiting. It's got to help you get more of these top-level players when you've produced an NCAA champion.
It does. I mean, every program is about, quote, development. And, Filip came in not as a highly ranked junior, not as a, he didn't have all the accolades after, that really the field that he beat did. So it does show that we've taken someone from a certain point, their freshman year, and built them up. And I would say the same about all the guys that are on our team right now. They've come in with promise. We've gotten lucky along the lines of just, they have the ability, and, if they are owning their development path, just along with us, then it's a win-win. But we're both invested in it, and we get who we can get. Hopefully it opens up some doors to better players, but at the same time, we just need players that want to get better, and I think everyone states that. But it's the truth, because we've had better players not perform as well, and we've had guys that that aren't as good, that have done all they can, but not at the level that Filip has.
George Husak with us, Alabama men's tennis coach. When you're out there with Filip and you're starting to see him, as you said, beat higher ranked players, but he kind of starts getting on that roll, and I'm getting the emails from UA saying, nobody's ever made it this far, and, he's gone as far as anybody, and you start kind of making history. As a coach, do you talk to him about history, what he's got to, when does it start to hit with you that, hey, I may be coaching a national champion here? What's the approach like? Is it still, just taking one match at a time? Or are you thinking big picture? When did you start thinking he might win it all?
When he was up a break in the third, in the final match.
Okay.
I remember telling myself, and I said it out loud, I said, just stay present, Husak, because if my mind drifts, now I'm not focused on the moment with him. If I'm telling him to focus on the moment, I got to be right there with him. So it's important for me to stay where my feet are, really. I can't, that's not going to, it's going to make me more nervous. And even if I can show it, if I'm portraying that I'm present, then he's going to be able to pick up on that. If I'm portraying that I'm, you got this, no problem, then I think he's going to pick up on that as well. So you've got to be that. Someone once told me you're a corner man, like in boxing. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was the whole way. I mean, you got to stay with him point after point after point. And there were some points where, he was down match points.
Sure.
And there were points where you could have just blown it open and won easily, but he didn't. And so for me, getting back to your original question, I have to stay with him right there in the present. And it really wasn't until you put that sticker up on the draw and I'm thinking, okay, he's got football now. He's got a football game. And he gets to have 101,000 plus scream and yell at him, and cheer him on. And that's a great thing.
Coach, he's a junior, and this is the NIL era, but he just won an NCAA men's singles tennis national championship. What are his plans? Will he remain in school? Is he going to turn pro? Have you even talked about that yet?
Yeah, he's actually going to compete on a professional schedule this summer and into the fall. He only has, after the summer school that he'll be taking online, he will only have 4 classes remaining. So he'll return in January. And we made this plan midway through his freshman season. He had a lot of success his freshman season, beating Ben Shelton, who's 15 in the world right now professionally. And so the plan of him to take the fall off was always there. But now he's created some more opportunities. He's qualified for this program on the ATP Tour that will provide him wild cards into much larger events, not the tour level events like the French Open, but just a notch below. Mm-hmm. I'd say the AAA of tennis. And so he's going to compete through the fall. He'll come back in January and join a team that we return all of our starters. So it's going to be an exciting season ahead for sure.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next. Your program, as you said, you're always building, but I know you've got an individual singles champion now. I know the next goal is to win a team national championship. It sounds like the roster is going to be really strong. As you look ahead, do you have a team that you feel like might have an opportunity to win it all?
I will say that this will be the best team that I've coached as a head coach moving forward. Now we still got to produce, but our 6 guys that started all last year, they're all returning. 2 guys left, and we've added another starter for a 1-year deal because he's a senior, and you don't really see that much in tennis. And then we are looking to fill the final spot with a high impact guy. So there's going to be some moving around with guys. It's going to be a crowded lineup. It's going to be some tense practices. But I was looking at Coach Oates, and the guys he has coming back. I would say, I don't know if I have that level, but I've got a lot of cooks in the kitchen that want to be cooking and not, prepping. So it's going to be an exciting one moving forward.
Sounds like it for sure. Hey, I had a caller in the last segment wanted me to ask you a question in regards to recruiting, and with so many international players coming in, and obviously junior tennis in the state of Alabama is not as strong as it is in some other states, but still a lot of these tennis rosters are filled out with international players. He wanted to ask the impact that has on junior tennis in the United States, and if there's an effort to recruit more, players from the United States. How does that work? I know this is an international sport, but recruiting international players versus trying to find players from the United States. What goes into that?
Well, we go to the U.S. Nationals, and I think the ultimate selection for a young man, and in this case a tennis player, they want to go to the best school possible. Then we got to match up their level to what we have. And then we also have to match up, can they compete in the SEC?
Exactly.
But then there are other factors, with regards to academics, location, just straight history. And I'll say we've tried our darndest to get some really good Americans, but it has been a big challenge. If I said, hey, we'll open it up and take every American that wants to come here, I don't think we'd be having this phone call.
Right.
Really.
Reality.
Because I think everybody would want to come, but that doesn't mean that all of them are going to be good enough to contribute and help us in the SEC. So we've really had to throw our net way beyond our U.S. borders. And again, last summer we entertained 5 guys. We thought we threw everything but the kitchen sink at them, and they chose somewhere else. This year we've done the same with a couple of other American guys, and we'll see what they end up doing. But I think overall in American junior tennis, it's pretty regional. Americans can play. But again, if the state isn't or the section isn't kind of fostering that development, and there isn't a strong threshold in your region, then we have to get guys that can win in the SEC, and we've trimmed our roster to 8, so we want them to contribute right away in their freshman year. We feel like that's our best niche, our best plan. And because I don't want a bunch of guys that are here just to practice for a couple of years for the opportunity to play. Because in those first 2 years, there are a lot of things down on the strip or just not being around and in the thick of things that I can't afford the distractions. I kind of played that hand once before, and I vowed I'll never do it again. So everyone can get better in college, but we need to have guys that can produce. If we can get Americans, great. If we can't, we gotta get the best players out there.
That's right. I mean, that's the only way you win. You got to have, like you said, they've got to be able to play at the level you need them to play at. And you've got an NCAA singles champion. Now you got a roster that it sounds like you feel like might have that opportunity. As I said, you've been in Tuscaloosa 12 years now. You're raising your family here. Obviously you're happy. And, again, getting back to that question, it's the $1 million question. I know you want to win a national championship here. It's not easy. I understand that, but it feels like you believe you can do it.
Well, I believe we can have a very successful team and better than we were this year. This year we were better than last year. If that means that we're a national champion, then that would be unbelievable. I've been able to say that 3 times as an assistant. Mm-hmm. And back then, though, I felt like, God, we have so many good players. There's just no way. Well, right now, I feel like I didn't go into any match this year thinking that we were going to be outplayed. The key to all of this, whether it's Phillip or the rest of his teammates, is who's gonna lead and take ownership of their path. Mm-hmm. And you hear every coach say this. I remember, again, going back to Coach Oates, about guys going into the gym after practice and taking extra foul shots or just extra shots. If you got guys that are owning their own path, then there's really not much to do other than to say, hey, what do you got next for yourself? And that's what we did with Phillip. He created his own postseason plan, and we were just there to follow it. And, it helps when you've got 3 coaches, and you got a strength coach, and you got an athletic trainer that are all there in your corner, but we're following his plan. And we introduce plans to guys, but they've got to take ownership of it and believe in it. We're both investing in each other.
That's
we
right.
both want the same thing.
Yeah.
You get the majority of your team doing that. Now you got a good shot. But that's our responsibility. We got to bring them to the water, see if they'll drink. And that doesn't, if they drink during their time here, then you're golden. If they drink later in life, hey, you've made an impact. But you got to have them drink, but they won't drink until they own it.
Well stated. All right, finally, Coach, with all the international players that are coming in, of course, you got great facilities here, beautiful campus, a very welcoming community. It seems like that they, obviously, to have success, they have to acclimate to more than just tennis. And it seems like that this campus, this university, this community makes it easier for them to do that maybe than some other places. Am I right there?
Yeah, and I can thank Coach Saban and football. I mean, it doesn't matter if I'm, here at the Birmingham airport or if I'm in the Netherlands. I mean, people are yelling out Roll Tide. Right, everyone knows the logo. They all know the brand. So when they hear that, they've heard of it. And I think that helps. And the people in this community are unbelievable. Coach Jenny Mines told me in my interview 12 and a half years ago, it's the people that make this university special. And I'll go to my grave saying the same thing. The people are incredible. So the number of messages that I've received, not only, in the last few days, but over time, it's from people that, that may have come to one match, people that I see in the store, people that I may meet just out and about. The people of this community are incredible. That's why I've stayed here. That's why my kids love it. Our family loves it. I mean, this is home. And for our international kids, they find, this is a jewel that they don't know about, but we know that once they're here, they're going to love it.
Well, Coach, obviously congratulations to Philip. Congratulations to you. Big kudos for the program, and talking to you this morning has got me excited about this team for next season. I know you're still recruiting and building, but appreciate the time, and talk to you again soon.
Thanks so much, Gary, and love listening to your show, and thanks a lot for all the support.
You're very welcome. Coach George Usack with us, and wow, he has a national champion now. That's quite an accomplishment for Philip Planishek. All right, it's 9:49 here on the Gary Harris Show. The YMCA of Tuscaloosa, the Y is ready when you're ready for the Y, and now would be a great time to join because it's May, but there's still some summer out there, and you'll be amazed at how quickly you can make progress in terms of fitness if you get in there and you go to work. It doesn't take that long, just a couple of weeks, and you'll see a difference. 4 weeks, you'll look in the mirror and you'll say, wow, 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, you can totally, and I know this, I've done it. Unfortunately, I've had to do it several times, but you can totally transform your body if you put the effort in. And the Y gives you everything that you need. They've got the facility, they've got the personal training, they've got the fitness classes, they've got people that will help you with nutrition, whatever it may be that's holding you back. They can help you get over the hump at the YMCA. 2300 13th Street. Go by and see them. They'll give you a tour. A beautiful facility. Very nice men's and women's locker room, sauna, shower facility, everything that you need if you want to work out and then you want to get back and get ready to go back to work. You can do it in the locker room there and take a shower, get dressed. It's all right there at the YMCA of Tuscaloosa. Get by and see them today at the Y and become a member. You'll enjoy it just like I have for over 20 years. All right, we'll be back with one more segment in this first hour. Hour number 2 is going to be busy as well. We're going to talk Bama basketball with Jordan Harper. We'll talk with Jeff Spiegel. We'll take more of your phone calls, but one segment still to go. So if you want to give us a ring on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline, 205-342-9904 is the number. We'll be right back.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud.
Boulevard West, Krispy Kreme is open 7 days a week. To see our complete donut, coffee, and espresso menu, visit our website at KrispyKremeTuscaloosa.com. Krispy Kreme, hot now and anytime.
365, 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow truck, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the roadside. And if you can't safely move over, please slow down.
Visit DriveSafeAlabama.org, brought to you by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time at the Tuscaloosa Championship Golf Course. Everyone can play. 205-562-3201. Old Colony is operated by Para.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The chance of a few isolated showers today, otherwise partially sunny, the high 82. For tonight, mostly fair with the low at 62. Tomorrow, a good supply of sunshine, the high 86. Then scattered showers and thunderstorms on Saturday, the high 85. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 71 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to the Gary Harris Show.
Goal line in, touchdown, Alabama.
On your home home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:54. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left, so we got time to jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and welcome in Philip. Good morning, Philip.
That was a great interview, Gary. I appreciate it. I'm a big tennis fan, and I would love to know. I wanted to type in a chat message to you. I wonder if he is going to be able to get into the U.S. Open qualifying in August.
Good question. I don't know the answer, but it seems like you would at least be able to get into, qualifying tournament to try to get an opportunity to qualify for it. It does, based on winning the NCAA men's, kind of like golf. You have all kinds of things open up to you when you win that championship.
Oh, you sure do. And and there's several pre-tournaments before the U.S. Open. There's one in Cincinnati, Ohio, and one up here in Atlanta. And it would be interesting to follow that. And it sounds like he's got a tremendous future. I don't know if hard court's his best surface or if he can play on clay, but I'm really excited about him. And it sounds like the coach is doing just a fantastic job.
Yeah, they've got a roster for next season that again, I talk about winning a national championship. We know how hard that is to do, but it's hard for an individual to win one. And he won one, and he's coming back, and most of the roster's coming back, and they were very competitive this year. It sounds like they're going to have one of those nationally ranked top 10 type rosters, and when you have that type of talent, you got a chance.
Yeah, well, there's some great live matches going on right now in the French Open. I don't know if you're keeping up with that or not. But,
I saw Nadal went down, and that kind of disappointed me. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, well, he's been through a lot in his career, a lot of injuries, and he's had a long career. But there's some great players coming up. I mean, there's be some great matches going on today, and I know tomorrow. Let's see, I'm not sure what all is going on tomorrow. But the women it's great. The women's game has changed so much.
It has. There's no doubt about it. I
mean, they're hitting the ball now, and but it's just unbelievable watching the men play, the way they pound the ball, and their ability to withstand such a rigorous tournament over 2 weeks, especially on clay.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's the conditioning to play tennis at that level is, of course, all sports. You have to be conditioned, but to play at that level on these different surfaces, I mean, it's unbelievable how well conditioned they are.
Yeah, well,
it'll wear you out. If I go out there right now and you and I just hit some balls across the net and run around a little bit, I'm gonna be tired.
Yeah. Well, Madison Keys is playing later on today. We've got, let's see. There's some good men playing a little bit later on this afternoon. But that'd be a good match later on today with Madison Keys. And then tomorrow, Coco Gauff plays.
Yeah, I always enjoy watching Coco for sure. So, I follow, I'm not a huge tennis guy, but I follow the major championships now. So I'll keep an eye out. And as we get closer to the finals, we'll talk some about it. Hey, got to run, Philip. Thank you, man.
Enjoyed it.
All right. It's 9:57 here on the Gary Harris Show. That wraps up hour number 1. It's been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. Member-owned and not-for-profit. It's just a better way of banking. Find out more at alabamacu.com. All right. The second hour is coming up. It'll be presented by Patterson Comer Attorneys at Law. And we're going to get started talking Bama basketball with Jordan Harper from Tide Illustrated Rivals.com. This roster, man, it's something else. Now, the question I'm going to have for Jordan is, Coach Oates is one of the best that there is, but all 13 of these guys aren't going to play. So it's going to be interesting to see, how he manages the roster, and hopefully everybody will accept their role, because if they do, this team's got a chance to be special. That's all coming up in the second hour. Gary Harris and Justin Jones coming back here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans.
8831. That's 800-294-8831. What do you have to lose? Call 800-294-8831. Again, 800-294-8831.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Monty Bolaños.
Breaking news in the NFL. Miami Dolphins and wide receiver Jalen Waddle reached an agreement today on a 3-year, $84.75 million contract extension that includes $76 million guaranteed. The deal makes Waddle one of the league's top 5 highest paid receivers and ties him to Miami through the 2028 season. WNBA stars Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier are launching a new 3-on-3 pro women's basketball league called Unrivaled that will offer athletes an alternative to having to go overseas to play during the offseason. The league will feature 6 teams and is expected to launch in January in Miami and is setting records for the highest average salary in women's pro sports league history. And the French Open continues, but they have banned fans from drinking alcohol in the stands after rowdy behavior the last 5 days.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
Arrest warrants are out for former Crimson Tide football star Isaiah Buggs. He's charged with misdemeanor animal cruelty for leaving 2 dogs without food and water for days at a house he abandoned in Tuscaloosa. Help could be on the way for rural communities like Pickens County where they have no hospital. Jacksonville State University is offering 2 more degree options, a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Science in Public Health, which could help rural hospitals. And hurricane season begins at midnight tomorrow night. It runs through the end of November.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show for this Thursday, May 30, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris. Justin Jones, of course, is alongside. We want to thank Alabama men's tennis coach George Husak for joining us in the first hour. This hour of the program brought to you, as always, by Patterson Comer, attorneys at law. Paul Patterson and Mike Comer, feet on the ground in West Alabama. I think if you need a personal injury law firm, that's important. They'll sit down with you face-to-face. Paul's in Tuscaloosa at 205-345-1000. Mike's in Northport at 205-759-3939. And remember, the commitment to serve our clients does not stop at the end of the workday. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can vouch for them. I've used this law firm before, and I'm telling you right now, it is a great experience. If you need a personal injury law firm, I highly recommend Patterson Comer, attorneys at law. Find out more at pattersoncomerlawfirm.com.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of services performed by other lawyers.
All right, and we're going to jump out on this hour on the Krispy Kreme Donuts hotline for hour number 2 and welcome in Jordan Harper, who's the head basketball analyst for Tide Illustrated, part of the Rivals.com network. And obviously we're going to talk about Alabama men's basketball. Expectations are going to be, they're going to be outside any that we've probably ever seen before for Alabama men's basketball. Good morning, Jordan. How are you?
Good, Gary. Thanks for having me on again, man.
Good to have you on. Well, the roster is set, and I'm cautious to say that on paper, because these guys haven't practiced together, obviously haven't played a game, but on paper, 1 through 13, you certainly can make an argument that this is a top 2 or 3 roster in college basketball, and there have been some great talent that's come through Alabama in the past, but you can argue that on paper, this might be the most talented roster Alabama men's basketball has ever put together. How do you see it?
Yeah, hands down in my lifetime at least. I was born in the very early 90s. So as long as I've been alive, this is the most talented team Alabama's ever had in basketball. And Look, outside of Kansas, maybe Alabama definitely does have the best roster 1 through 13, just because not only do they have the star power at the top with Mark Sears, and, I think Grant Nelson's someone that could bust into that category in year 2 of Nate Oates' system, but they also had the depth. And that's the thing that really sets them apart from other rosters around the country, is that they have a starting 5 that would probably be up there, top 5, top 7 best starting 5s in the country. But they have a reserve 5 that would be probably the starting 5 for majority of teams in the country, and probably would be a pretty decent mid-level SEC team if I had to guess in terms of starting 5s go. That's just how talented they are, 1 through 5, 6 through 10, and then on the back end you have guys that, Mo Diabate, who single-handedly won Alabama an NCAA tournament game last year against Grand Canyon, and then you got LeBaron Philon and former number 1 overall player in the country in this year's class, Nas Cunningham. I mean, those guys most teams in the country would have loved to have those guys, and they'd probably get a lot more playing time than they would at Alabama year 1, but that's just the Nate Oates effect. Everybody wants to play for Nate Oates, play in this system, and they showed that they have what it takes to win a championship, and that's why so many fifth-year seniors are sticking around or coming in to achieve that goal.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You're right. I mean, this is one of the it programs right now. And Nate Oates is one of the it coaches. This is where guys want to go. Obviously the news yesterday, so we know the roster is set with Sears and Stevenson coming back. I wasn't surprised on Stevenson. I admire him for going through the process. His best basketball is still to come. But for Mark Sears, I know that they put a lot of, he and his family and his team put a lot of, time in and went through the process diligently. But at the end of the day, Jordan, bottom line is they had a number that they needed. They had a number in terms of the draft selection and the money and knowing that they would be on a roster. They couldn't get that guarantee. So you don't want to be on a two-way deal. You certainly don't want to be in the developmental league or looking at playing it overseas. And when you have a nice NIL deal on the table for you at the University of Alabama to play another year, it just made sense to come back. He can go back into the draft next year. He's still going to be, under 5'11", but he's a great basketball player. This was what was best for him. I did admire, though, the way they went through the process. They didn't rush it. And at the end of the day, it was just, it was best for him to come back to the University of Alabama. And now Jordan, Alabama is going to benefit from having one of the best returning players in the country.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be the front runner to be National Player of the Year preseason, just because of how he performed in the NCAA tournament all throughout last year. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. He had a number, he had a draft slot that he was looking for, because it goes. I believe we talked about this a few weeks ago on your show. Actually, is that going from every 10 picks in the NBA draft, the numbers either go up or down depending on which way you're going in terms of guaranteed salary. So, I was thinking it would probably be more in the top 40, top 45 range that they were looking for compensation-wise. And he went through several workouts. He even went through one the day of the deadline to see if he could get that guarantee. And he even had some scheduled after the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
So he definitely took the chance. It's like, hey, I don't think I'm going to get what I want. And, you're thinking about 10 years ago, I have no doubt Mark Sears would probably get a guarantee for a two-way contract. He's too good not to. But, 10 years ago, most players would take that at his age and his stature. But the fact that you can earn more, sometimes twice as much going back to college.
That's right.
It's an easy decision. And to come back and play for your hometown school or home state school that you grew up, extra drive of having that unfinished business of wanting to win a national championship in your final year. You pair the money with the motivation. I mean, I think it was a no-brainer that he should have come back.
I agree 100%. Like you said, make money in college, and then you can still pursue your professional dreams. All right. Not only does this roster have talent, a lot of experience. Let's run it down. Mm-hmm. You got Sears, Nelson, Reitzel, Chris Youngblood, Cliff Amore, I think, are all graduate students. You've got Jaron Stevenson, Mo Diabate with experience. Houston Millette transferring in's got a ton of experience. Aiden Holloway's played a year in the SEC. And then you got some incredibly talented newcomers in Darion Reed, Aiden Sherrill, Nas Cunningham, and LeBaron Philon. So the roster is stacked. I guess the question I have, Jordan, is, and Nate Oates, I'm sure already has a plan, but all 13 of these guys aren't going to be playing consistently. Do you worry at all about issues with playing time, with guys accepting their roles? I mean, that's for Nate Oates and the staff to figure out. But on paper, you feel like that they being the players, need to have a pretty good understanding coming in of where they stand so that you won't have issues, because I think that's the only thing that could really stall this team's development if you get a couple guys that aren't happy.
Right. There's only one basketball. There's only 40 minutes in a game. And, you know, typically teams won't play more than 10 guys in a game. And I feel like Nate Oates will probably cut the rotation down to around that as well. It's not going back to the old Kentucky days where they would just rotate a fresh 5 in every 8 minutes. It's not going to be like that, but he's going to have his 10, I think, after non-conference, and he's going to go with them. But no, you know, you mentioned the unhappiness part, the playing time, and kind of just the overall flow of the game. And I don't think that any of these guys are like that. Nate Oates is very upfront with players in terms of what his expectations are for their roles coming into the season. You know, Aiden Holloway didn't come in thinking that he was going to be the starting point guard, and that was definitely not the case. He knew that Mark Sears was more than likely coming back, but he came along anyways just because of the vision Nate Oates had long-term for him, being the guy next year once Mark Sears leaves, once all these backcourt guys leave. He's going to give them the reins. And I think a lot of these guys understand their role, whether it's Aiden Holloway and then LeBaron Philon coming in knowing he's probably not going to play a lot, but he chose to come and learn under this system in Nate Oates. But you got all these fifth-year guys, right? They've been through it. They've done it. You know, not a lot of them have gone through winning cultures like Houston Millette or Cliff Amore necessarily. You had Chris Youngblood, who they did win the regular season championship last year at South Florida. But a lot of these guys, that's all they want to do is win. They have one chance, one more year to do it, and they're going to do whatever it takes. I feel like he got a lot of high-character guys in there. Chris Youngblood was touted for being the vocal leader of South Florida last year. So I think he's going to be a key component. Mark Sears is a vocal leader as well. I think Grant Nelson. I mean, all these guys, they have one focus, and that's win the championship. And I mentioned on my podcast last night, the Double Dribble podcast, that you've got guys on here to where in the backcourt specifically that are really good shooters, to where Nate Oates could play, you know, his starting 5, and then one guy might be off and one guy come off the bench and just light it up. And that guy that wasn't on that night, well, he's got the character and the determination to win that he's going to say, hey, he's cooking. Let him stay in. Tonight's just not my night. Let him stay in, you know, as long as he's hot. That's the kind of character guys that I think Nate Oates has brought in, and he wanted his team surrounded with, because he's had trouble in the past with a lot of transfer outs of guys that weren't bought into what he's wanting to do. And he made that mistake one time, and he's not going to make it again. And I feel like this year, last year, and even the year before that he has really built a team around guys that just have the same mentality of just wanting to win. And this year is no different, especially with all the experience, and they only have one chance. So I think they're going to do whatever it takes to get it done.
Jordan Harper with us, head basketball analyst at Rivals.com, Tide Illustrated. All right, let me ask you this, because there's a lot of possible combinations. I think mine's probably going to differ from yours and most of the analysts that know more than me, so I'm probably going to be wrong. But give me your starting 5 next year for Alabama men's basketball.
Well, just to preface it, I don't think anybody can really be wrong, per se, on this starting 5, because there's so many good possibilities. But my personal starting 5, opening game, it's probably going to change that by the end of the year. But opening game, I have Mark Sears at the 1, Latrell Wrightsell at the 2, Chris Youngblood at the 3, Grant Nelson at the 4, and Cliff Amoria at the 5. And I really went back and forth on Youngblood at the 3 and Darion Reed starting, because I think Darion Reed is possibly the most talented, gifted player on the team. But as difficult as Alabama's non-conference stretch is early in the season, I think it's best to let him ease in and let a fifth-year senior, former conference player of the year, take the reins. What did you have?
Well, because I'm looking at like we talked about, what works for this team in terms of chemistry. And obviously, you know, Amori, Grant Nelson, Mark Sears are starting. We know that. I've got Stevenson starting, and I'll tell you why. Okay. I just think for him to come back, for him to go through that process and come back, and I know you can say, well, he could start as a third-year player because he's really should be a true freshman this year anyway. But I just feel like for him to come back, I feel like that Coach Oates sat down with him and I feel like I've told him, hey, you backed up last year. You know, you got an opportunity to start. Now, that's just my opinion. As far as the other two players, you know, I don't know if Mark Sears is the guy who you really want to truly run the offense with all the scoring and all the other things that he does. You know, I could see Wrightsell being a sixth man, as good as he is, just because I think he would accept that role, like you said, with his experience.
He would.
And so you could start Youngblood and you could start Sears in the backcourt and then go with those three big guys. Or you could start Sears and you could start Holloway and bring Youngblood and Wrightsell both off the bench. So, but I just, for whatever reason, I feel like Jaron Stevenson is going to be a starter to open the season. And that's probably the guy who most people won't pick to start. But that's just, you know, that's just my vibe, for whatever that's worth. Like you said, there's really no wrong answers at this point. And you know what? Nate Oates may have told all these guys, hey, listen, we'll decide the starting lineup when we get into camp and we start practicing. So, what's more important is we talked about before, it's not always who starts, it's who finishes. And minutes played is the most important stat. How many guys is he going to get in the rotation? So, but for some reason, I just feel like Jaron Stevenson went through this process not only to see where he stood with the NBA, but to let Alabama know, listen, you know, I feel like I'm ready to be one of the guys. So that's my thought on that.
Well, I will to your point say that Jaron Stevenson did get, even though he didn't get invited to the NBA Combine, and it's not uncommon for that to happen just because he is 18 years old and just turned 18 this past basketball season. So they probably wanted to use the Combine for more experienced players to get a better look at them as well. But he was getting some legit interest in being drafted in the second round this upcoming draft. And it was a fairly tough decision for him just because he is young. I mean, that is a lot of money. It might have been more money than what Alabama's going to pay him, but him coming back in that year two jump that's expected in a Nate Oates system that Mark Sears per se took, or a Herb Jones took, it's real. That second year jump is totally real in a Nate Oates system. And I 100% agree. I think there are times where you could see him playing majority of the minutes, either at the 3 or the 4 against bigger teams, because if you have Grant and then you have Jaron at the 3 and the 4 and then Cliff at the 5, I mean, that's all 6'10" or taller guys, 2 of them that can step out and stretch the floor. The one place that Jaron really needs to get better at is just in the weight room. He didn't have a full off season last year, working out, just get bigger, stronger, and work on his defense and be able to guard multiple positions. But no, I love Jaron Stevenson's upside this upcoming year. I do think he can play himself if he becomes more consistent shooting the ball into a back-end first-round pick next year, just because of his projectability, his size, and his shooting ability.
A lot like Clowney. Yeah, and with Youngblood and Wrightsell, man, you know what you're going to get with Wrightsell if he stays healthy. I mean, he's dynamic as a scorer, too. And Youngblood, the physicality. I love Rylan Griffin. I really still do. I think he'll be great at Kansas. But if you're going to lose Rylan Griffin, Jordan, to be able to bring in a guy like Chris Youngblood, I mean, how big is that?
I think it's an upgrade. And I really liked Rylan, too. I had said previously before the year last year that I thought he would play into being a draft pick this upcoming draft, actually, just because of the same reasons as Jarrett. His shooting ability, his projectability, his ability to defend multiple positions. But it didn't pan out. It's all because of consistency. Now you're bringing in a fifth-year guy that just won Conference Player of the Year for a respectable conference, by the way. He has all of that experience, and he's an extremely good scorer, shoots better than Ryland. He's bigger than Ryland, and I would argue to say that he's probably a better overall defender than Ryland. So when you got a guy that can do all of that and is a more vocal leader, I definitely think it's an upgrade. So, yeah, there's only a handful of guys I think you could bring in that spot and be an upgrade over Ryland, and I really think Alabama did that.
All right, we're getting short on time, man, because I could talk Bama hoops all day. I know we all agree on this. Everybody that follows Alabama basketball, what that team did last year was amazing. And the fact that they did it without Charles Bediako, which was a guy that, because of the way he decided to leave, they could not replace him. Now you've got that guy. Amori, I mean, he is a beast. I don't know any other way to put it. And I don't think, despite the system, I don't think we're going to see him out there, throwing up threes. But he's adequate offensively around the basket. Huge hands, can run the floor, and defensively, man, he's a force. And how big, literally, because he's 6'11", 240 pounds, but how big is he as far as kind of being the cherry on top of this roster to give them that rim protection, to give them a low post offensive rebounding force, and what do you think he'll bring to this team?
He was the difference in making them from a top 15 team into a national title favorite, in my opinion. They could have not gotten Cliff, kept the same team, and just got someone, not discrediting Ugonna, Uwenzo, or anybody like that, but take someone like them and put them on this team. They're still a top 10 team, but they're not in that top tier. Cliff Amori is what put them over the top just because of being an elite defender, elite rim protector, and the athleticism from the dunker spot as a lob threat, a pick and roll threat. He runs the floor extremely well. He is going to flourish so much in this system compared to Rutgers, just because Rutgers was more of a grinded out defensive style type of pace of play. And Alabama's going to be so up and down that he is going to get a lot of lobs. He's going to get a lot of easy putbacks just because of all the threes that Alabama will shoot. I could easily see him average a double-double with 3 blocks a game next year, and that is something that they could have put 3 guys together last year and probably wouldn't have come up with those stats. And they really missed that production, and I think Cliff is what really put them over the edge and probably was the most important addition outside of Mark Sears coming back that Alabama had this offseason.
Great stuff. And this roster, man, and this program, where it's at right now, I've said Alabama basketball has gone just like football now. It's 12 months out of the year. It is a conversation piece.
June, nearly June.
Yeah. It's going to be talked about right through the summer, just like football. It's unbelievable. All right, folks, follow Jordan on X, formerly Twitter. I just combine them and call them Twix, at HarperNation24, and read him at TideIllustrated.com, part of the Rivals.com network. Thank you, Jordan.
Appreciate you, Gary. Have a good one, man.
All right, it's 10:23. All right, you can't make this stuff up. Alabama softball against UCLA's got the 11 a.m. game. You figure if that's the one game that you're guaranteed is going to start on time, because they get behind once they go through the day. And we got a little spit shower out the window. They got a lightning delay already in Norman, Oklahoma, on the first day of the Women's College World Series for the 11 o'clock game. You can't make this stuff up. So, Justin, any idea of what the window is now of when they might get started?
No idea. This was just basically breaking news. The NCAA softball Twitter tweeted it out, and I guess we're just sitting here waiting. Hopefully they can find a clearing, but as for now, it's in a delay.
All right, 11 a.m. is the scheduled start time for Alabama and UCLA, but can't even get to the first game. It's unbelievable. I know I'm carrying on, but it's just like, what are the odds, man? And for it to be in the morning, too. Usually, if you're going to get that kind of weather, you're going to get it more often than not in the afternoon this time of year. And they can't even get to the first game. And, of course, Alabama's in the first game. Okay. Well, that's my rant for that. All right, 10:24.
Double whammy. Basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The chance of a few isolated showers today, otherwise partially sunny, the high 82. For tonight, mostly fair with the low at 62. Tomorrow, a good supply of sunshine, the high 86. Then scattered showers and thunderstorms on Saturday, the high 85. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 68 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
27, welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. And the weekend's coming up, and a lot of people are wanting to golf, get out by the pool, whatever it may be. You can do both at Tall Pines Golf Club in Tuscaloosa. Golf play is open to the public. Got those brand new greens. They've done a lot of work on the course. Call for a tee time, 205-556-1232. They also have memberships available. In addition to golf memberships, they've got a beautiful swimming pool that is now open for the summer. Got a clubhouse. So it's great. If you want to just play around a golf, don't want to join, they'd love to have you. 205-556-1232. But if you want to join the club and have all the benefits that go with that, you can talk to them about that as well. Tall Pines Golf Course, the former Woodland Forest Country Club, and beautiful East Tuscaloosa, Alabama. All right, weather delay, as we said, Devon Park and Oklahoma City can't even get it to the first game. What are the odds? I'm thinking Alabama's 11 a.m. Going to be easy for me on my sportscast today. Game's going to be over. Plenty of time to get the post-game press conference down and all that. And can't even get to the first game. And listen, nobody can do anything about it. I mean, there's lightning. It's Mother Nature. But it's just, what are the odds? What are the odds that we get delayed by weather before we even play the first game? If there's ever a reason to move it out of Oklahoma City, because it isn't the ballpark. It's incredible. It would be the weather. That tournament has more weather delays than any I can remember for any event that's outside in sports. It just seems like it's every year. Of course, the year Alabama won the national championship, they had a huge rain delay in that game. It helped Alabama, man. They enjoyed themselves in the rain and came back out and won it all against Oklahoma. Okay, let's see. Let's get a note in here before we have to get back to the break. Justin has got some Alabama football kickoff times have been announced.
Yeah, well, I thought it was multiple games, Gary, but it turns out it's just the start time for the USF game. So the second game of the year for Alabama football. Of course, just starting from the top there, Western Kentucky. We open at home in Tuscaloosa.
6. That'll be evening. Yeah.
USF is also going to be a 6
Good
start.
That's great news. Listen, August, early September, I'm a big fan of evening kickoffs in Tuscaloosa, dude. Let me just tell you. I'm a big fan of evening kickoffs because they are much more fan friendly in terms of the temperature. And you play one of those 11 o'clock games or 1 o'clock games in early September in Tuscaloosa, woo! But by 6 o'clock, and the sun, plus just getting out of the sun, so that's good news. 6 o'clock kickoff for the first two games against Western Kentucky and South Florida. All right, it's 10:30 here. We're going to take a timeout and
PetSmart.com/deal or text deal to 511-511. Text deal to 511-511. All dogs are unique. Your dog's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
.32, 28 minutes before the hour of 11 o'clock, and we're back here on the Gary Harris Show, and it's time to jump out on the Krispy Kreme Donuts hotline and welcome in our pal, Jeff Spiegel, sports anchor at ABC 3340, host of The Zone. Good morning, Jeff.
Wow, Krispy Kreme's donut hotline. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, buddy, you better believe it. Hot and fresh right now. Hey, listen, Oklahoma City's an incredible city. The Devon Park's an unbelievable venue, the support. But if there was ever a reason to consider moving the Women's College World Series out of OKC, it would be the weather. I've never seen an event have more weather issues. We didn't even make it to the first game, Jeff. Alabama and UCLA in a lightning delay. Yeah, so don't.
Are you serious?
You're thinking you play the 11 a.m. game on Thursday. You know your game's going to start on time. Not so much. So those teams are going to have to deal with that because, as you know, with lightning, there's firm rules. I mean, you can't start the game until a certain amount of time has passed between the last strike. So Alabama and UCLA delayed before we even got to game one. But this is par for the course out there. It just seems like every year, they have a lot of weather delays, although we're hoping with Alabama playing the early game. I know you and I, sportscasters, this will be easy. The game will be over. We'll get to post-game press conferences. Won't be any issues. Maybe not so much.
Well, I mean, Sunday in Knoxville, they had, a tornado warning,
yeah,
right?
3-hour delay.
Area, so they had to delay that game. So, look, I mean, you run into weather issues wherever you go, but it always seems like, College World Series time in Omaha, there's always weather issues, and Women's College World Series, you have your weather issues too. Of course, you think back to 2012, the only year that Alabama softball won the national championship.
They were singing in the rain.
There were weather issues there, and no one seemed to mind.
Well, hopefully it won't be delayed too long, and Alabama is the first game. But for these teams that play later on in the day, it could get late, but we didn't make it. What do you think Alabama's chances, man? They made what I still call an improbable run to the Women's College World Series. I mean, you watch that team in the SEC, they were offensively challenged. That's just the reality of it. They had a hard time scoring runs, but bats turned on in the regional when they needed them. They went to Knoxville and won that one. They got the pitching. We know that. So what do you think of their chances of making a run here at the Women's College World Series?
Well, Murph is kind of leaning into this, where did these girls come from kind of thing. Yesterday opening up his press conference saying, how many of you thought that I would be here?
Right.
And then he looked at Katie and he said one. And so, yeah, I mean, look, you had every reason to doubt this softball team because they had a losing record in SEC play for the first time ever in the history of the program. They lost 6 of their final 8 regular season games. Now, this team was going nowhere. And then, they get a favorable, draw in the regional, and then their offense starts clicking, and then they've got so much confidence after going to Knoxville and knocking off third-ranked Tennessee that, the sky's the limit for them. Obviously, Oklahoma is the standard. And look, if there was a reason to move the Women's College World Series venue, it's that. Because it's totally unfair, for the Sooners to have an advantage like that in a national, championship World Series type setting. I mean, I've always said that, but apparently, that it's worked. I mean, it's worked in terms of the success of the event, I guess. But I just can't figure that out. Why they continue to keep it there, because Oklahoma's won Gary, 3 in a row now, and so they're the team to beat. But Alabama's got so much confidence, and once they start going, that first game is always important. You can't go in the losers bracket after the first game. That's a big hill to climb.
It is.
We'll see what happens today against UCLA.
Yeah, those first games are critical. You're not eliminated, but boy, you're behind the 8 ball if you don't win. So this game against UCLA is big. Bama baseball.
But am I the only one who's whining about this? About the fact that it's just unfair for Oklahoma to have that kind of advantage?
Well, you're not the only one, but I think the response is because the facility is what it is, and because the way that all the teams are treated, I think even the teams that have to play in their backyard are agreeable that it's a great place to play. So, but hey, listen, make no mistake. I mean, not only is Oklahoma good, but yeah, you're playing in a hostile environment when you have to play against them there. There's no doubt about it, Jeff. I used to really be bothered by it, but then after talking with some of these coaches, and they just kept talking about how nice it is, and they just keep upgrading the facility and all that, I'm like, okay, well, just have to deal with it. Beat them at their place. I guess.
Well, and And Gary, the older you get, the more mellow you get. So that's kind of the way it works.
Yeah. Let's get to Bama baseball, because for the first time in 10 years, they're in regionals for back-to-back seasons. Of course, hosted last year in the Tallahassee regional this year. It's a tough regional, but at the same time, they were able to bus. It's short trip. Teams they're familiar with, Alabama and the state of Florida, all three Florida teams, Florida State, Central Florida, and Stetson. Alabama plays UCF tomorrow night at 5. I can see the Tide. I still think Florida State, just like you're talking about Oklahoma in the Women's College World Series, Florida State's a clear favorite to win this regional, but I can see Alabama beating UCF, getting into that winner's bracket and pushing FSU down there in Tallahassee. What about you?
Well, I could see that too, but I could also see UCF, beating Alabama in the first game.
Don't say it ain't so.
Yeah, UCF's had a pretty solid year, in the Big 12, and but you look at Alabama's resume, and we kick this around in the sports office whether Alabama was deserving of a number 2 seed. Well, number one, they play in the best league in America. Number 2, I mean they've won. They've been impressive, winning a bunch of series against some really good teams, this year. So I give Alabama, every opportunity to win that first game, and then. But Florida State's going to be a handful. I mean, especially down there at Dick Howser Stadium, and they got it rocking and rolling now. They're a top 8 national seed for a reason, and so that'll be tough. But I mean, once you get to regional play, all bets are off. Home field advantage, yeah, it can only go so far. I mean, you still have to play good baseball, whether you're at home or not. So. Alabama's got to play its best to get out of there.
Jeff Spiegel with us, sports anchor, ABC 3340, host of The Zone. I had Jordan Harper on earlier from Rivals.com, their national basketball analyst, and we were both just going ahead and trying to figure out how to get media credentials early for the Final Four. Hey, on paper with Sears and Stevenson coming back 1 through 13, Jeff, I mean, on paper, this is a loaded roster, man, for Alabama basketball, arguably the most talented in the history of the program.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go back to some of those Kentucky lineups that the Cal put out when John Wall was there to find a better one, and that's fantastic. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, on paper, yeah, it's a dangerous looking roster, but there's a reason that some of these teams go to the Final Four and then they don't get back. It's because it's not that easy, and yeah, they've got the talent. But as Mark said yesterday in an interview with ESPN, the onus is on him to lead these guys and get that chemistry, that they had last year. And another thing too is that these guys have to buy in defensively better than they did last year. They turned it up, when the time was right, but. This is a team that, as a whole, they need to buy into playing on that defensive end of the floor. But there's no question about it. I mean, they've got the talent. But I wouldn't be hanging those national championship banners yet. I mean, there's a long way to go. But certainly the talent is there.
Yeah, you got to go earn it. You're right, and they haven't practiced together, much less played a game together. But it's going to be fun. And one thing I was talking about with Jordan, Jeff, and you and I might have discussed this, is men's basketball really has arrived, though, when it's like football now. It is a conversation piece 12 months out of the year. We're going to be talking about basketball in June, July, August, even with football right alongside. Bama men's basketball is a hot topic year-round now.
Well, no question about it, and all you got to do is look at the odds that BetMGM released, yesterday after Sears made his announcement. The odds of Alabama winning the national championship in basketball equal the odds of Alabama winning a national championship in football. Now, that tells you how far we've gotten, and I think there are only 3 other teams who have better odds at winning the national championship than Alabama, and that's Kansas, Duke, and UConn. So you're in some company with some pretty heavy hitters right there. And now it's up to Nate, to kind of get these guys organized and get them to the finish line. Because now, the The Final Four is the expectation. That was the expectation. I mean, the national championship is the expectation now, and that's a lot of pressure.
Jeff Spiegel with us. SEC spring meetings down at beautiful Sandestin. A lot of discussion about the future of college athletics. You know, a lot of focus on college football, and now with the pay for play that's going to be instituted where schools can make direct payments to athletes. What's your vibe, Jeff, on whether this is going to work well or this is going to turn out to be a mess?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to work well. This is where we were headed, whether you wanted to go in that direction or not. And I don't know how it's all going to work. I don't know whether we're looking at capping rosters at 85. I mean, I know there are some coaches that are just, pitching a fit over that, and rightly so. Because if you cap the roster at 85 and you don't allow walk-ons, then you're just stomping on a lot of young men's dreams, of playing college football. And Kirby Smart, mentioned this yesterday, what happens to the Dabo Sweeneys? What happens to the Will Muschamps? What happens to the Ladd McConkeys? Guys who have just been success stories that started, when they walked on, to play college football. That's ridiculous. I mean, that is not an option, in my opinion, is doing it that way. But you know what? There's got to be some cuts made somewhere. Mm-hmm. I mean, this college athletics is going to change, and I mean, this is going to affect harshly the non-revenue sports. Some of these non-revenue sports are going to turn into club level sports, and I don't know which one of those are going to be. But even the wealthiest athletic programs have got to look at this, and they got to go, we can't do things the way we used to do, because now we got to put some more money into this. We got to put some more money into football and basketball and paying these players and all of that. And there's got to be some cuts at somewhere. I mean, it doesn't make any sense for there not to be.
Jeff, I want to ask you about the news from the Dolphins. Waddle getting 3 years, $84.75 million, $76 million guaranteed. Miami's all in on that offense. They've got Cheetah, they've got Waddle, they got two running backs. They bring in Odell Beckham Jr. They got a pretty good offensive line. They got Tua. But that's where I'm going with this. It's been just kind of a given all spring that Tua was going to get a contract extension. Now, reading some stuff out of Miami this morning with the money committed to Waddle, there is some talk that they may just go all in for this season with Tua under contract, see what this Dolphins team can do, and then make a decision after the season on him. Do you think a deal gets done this summer with Tua, or do you think they let him play on his current deal?
I don't know. I mean, to me, I think it's a make or break year for him because all the stars are lining up, for the Dolphins to have a big year, and Tua's got to get it done this year, and so my gut feeling is that they make him work under his current deal, and then show us what you got. Show us that you are the future of this franchise, and for the Dolphins, I mean, the future is now. They've invested all this money into these weapons, and they got to get it done. They got to get it done this year.
Yeah,
so that's my gut feeling on that.
Yeah, they need to get that home field because they don't want any more trips to one of these cold weather venues like when they went to Kansas City last year in sub-zero temperatures. They don't. That doesn't suit the Dolphins. So having a great regular season is very, very, very important. Want to get back to college baseball because you're covering the Birmingham Southern story, and it's a remarkable story. I mean, we all know what a beacon of academic integrity Birmingham Southern was for years, but great sports programs too. And at one time, of course, Division I in basketball. But for this baseball team, now that the school is closing its doors to make it to the Division III World Series, it's bringing a lot of attention to Birmingham Southern. And I think it's also pointing out that in a lot of our minds that more should have been done to keep that school open. But what's that like there in Birmingham, the buzz with Birmingham Southern baseball?
Well, there's a lot of buzz. I mean, and it's really cool. And it is, and it's very sad in a way because, man, when we opened up the station in 1996, I mean, Birmingham Southern was rocking and rolling. I mean, you had Dwayne Riebel there as the basketball coach. You had Brian Shoup there as the baseball coach. I mean, two of the most incredible coaches, that have come through at any level. And then, they went from Division I to Division III. I want to say it was somewhere in 2007 or something like that. And it's like and it was a surprise move too. And it just pulled the rug out from under, these programs that were really on the verge of doing some incredible things at the D1 level. And so that kind of decreased the interest in terms of media coverage, of their athletics. I mean, because, you only have so much time in a show, to talk about programs. So, it's been great. And there's some sadness, but there's some joy too on behalf of these guys because, they're embracing this. They're embracing all this attention. They're shooting a documentary that's going to be on Netflix, and they've got like an 11-person film crew that's following them around and documenting all this. So there are a lot of people all over America who prior to this year never paid one iota of attention to the Division III World Series in East Lake, Ohio. But this year it's on their radar. Mm-hmm. And Birmingham Southern is high up on that radar, and they are America's team, this week. People are cheering for them, and I mean, good luck to them, and so happy for, their opportunity and for Jan Weisberg, and what a quality guy he is, and what a great coach he is, and hopefully he can get him to the finish line. Yeah, go win the thing. I think that would be so cool. Great stuff as always, Jeff, and of course, Zone coming up on Sunday night, your nightly sportscast, and also tell them how they can find you on the former Twitter, now known as X. Yeah, at Speaks 3340, and Gary, appreciate you. The Zone Sunday at 10:30 on ABC 3340. Have a great day, and talk to you soon. Thanks, Jeff. 10:50 here on the Gary Harris Show. We're winding it down, but I think we're going to have time, Justin, when we come back, just to play not much of it, but Murphy's opening of his press conference yesterday was pretty cool with how he approached the media. So we're going to come back, and of course, lightning delay out in Oklahoma City. Couldn't even get to the first game, but Alabama and UCLA ended a delay there. But hopefully, the weather will clear up, the Lightning will get out of there, and we'll play. But we'll hear from Patrick Murphy, head coach of the Crimson Tide, next, right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans.
Pets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511. All dogs are unique. Your dog's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The chance of a few isolated showers today, otherwise partially sunny, the high 82. For tonight, mostly fair with the low at 62. Tomorrow, a good supply of sunshine, the high 86. Then scattered showers and thunderstorms on Saturday, the high 85. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 69 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Catch every game and every moment right here. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
.53, we're back here on the Gary Harris Show. We got a few minutes before we wrap it up and get you ready for T-Town Sports Daily. Let's go out to OKC yesterday. Patrick Murphy walking in with Kayla Beaver and Jocelyn Brisky to address the media at the Women's College World Series press conference.
How's everybody doing? It's great to see you again. How many of you expected me to be here? Katie Wyndham right there. Sorry to steal your thunder. Jenny, are you okay? You good? Great.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started with Alabama. A reminder to please silence all phones, electronic devices, and then when you get the mic to ask a question, to give your name and affiliation. We are joined by Alabama head coach Patrick Murphy and players Kayla Beaver and Jocelyn Brisky. We'll start with a opening statement from Coach Murphy.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks for being here. The name of the game is fast pitch softball. Not fast run, not fast hit, not fast defense. And the reason we're here is because of these two young ladies, fast pitch. They're two pitchers. And they have done a tremendous job all year. And we always try to, we preach the defense and the pitching stays constant. If we can scratch a run, we're going to win. And they've basically done that all year. And both of them, they're brand new to the program. Miss Beaver is a grad student, a transfer from Central Arkansas. And Jocelyn is a freshman from Phoenix, Arizona. But they have done a tremendous job, and I'm so glad that they're up here with me. And you guys can get to know them. But this was it was a difficult year. And, I said this to our parents at a banquet. It was the senior banquet in April. We played Tennessee that day. And before we played Tennessee, we had this senior brunch. And if you ask every parent in the world, what do you want for your kid? The number one answer is, I want them to be happy. Right? 100%. But you know what? Not everybody's happy every single day. And you go through trials and tribulations. And that was our year. We went through the stuff. And now we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's Oklahoma City. And we persevered. We got through it. Nobody quit. It was one of the most enjoyable teams to coach because they didn't quit. And now we're here. And we're going to relish every second because there's no bad day at the College World Series.
All right, great stuff right there from Patrick Murphy. Listen, he is a great guy. We know that. And he said that with a smile on his face. But I do think, Justin, I don't know, I took that as he made a point. He made a point of like, none of y'all gave us a shot. And like he told me at the airport, 28 years as a program, 15 World Series trips. They've been in Oklahoma City for the Women's College World Series more times than they've been at home. That is pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's trying to prove a point and let everybody know, hey, we're here. Whether you like it or not, or whether you thought we were or not.
Now, when they will play, I don't know. Justin just checked the radar. He said it looks awful for a while.
Yeah, there's about two waves. This first wave that went through is where it causes this initial delay, and then there's another one. I want to say like maybe 1 o'clock. That's me being hopeful.
If it's 1 or 2 o'clock, they may not get all 4 games in today. So it's, like I said, this is a common theme. Weather this time of year in Oklahoma City evidently is very volatile. But to not even get to the first game is highly disappointing. All right, that's going to do it for the show. This hour has been brought to you by Patterson Comer, attorneys at law. T-Town Sports Daily is coming up next. Miller's Edge, noon until 2. Ryan Fowler will take you home with the game, 2 until 6. I'll be back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for the TGIF edition of the Gary Harris Show. And, of course, you catch me on TV tonight with your local sports on WVUA 23. Have a great day, everybody. I'll talk to you again in the morning.